You know, if you're talking about the climate, they say that the best thing we could have done to save the environment was 30 years ago. The second best time is now. Of course, the reason I'm talking about the environment is that for today's episode of The Untold, we have environmental consultant Noura Alfadhli, who's going to be talking to us, bringing awareness about the environment, how we can be better educated about our decisions toward our habits or our daily to day life, and how we can, better enhance our treatment of our environment. With that in mind, we are going to take a break. We'll come right back with her. And we are back with our special guest for the evening, Noura Alfadhli. I want to first thank you for joining us on The Untold.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think it's always great to, whenever we have guests who are in a very specific kind of field, to ask them about, their reasons and their decisions behind these choices. Like, where did your interest in the environment all come from?
Honestly, it was way long back. I don't even remember the first time I was interested in the environment, but I do remember most of my childhood. We used to go a lot to the beach. Even before school, sometimes my mom used to like to drop us off to school and wake us up extra early to spend time at the beach. So I think this is where it all started. Um, but afterwards, I started reading a lot of stories and articles, studying on my own, watching a lot of documentaries, and the love just grew up from there.
I mean, that's always great to see, right? You took your passions as a child by watching the oceans and the beaches and how people were unfortunately leaving stuff behind, and now you decide to bring awareness to it. So from, starting so early and in the field so far, do you see a difference in people's awareness or how they treat beaches or how they leave behind or how they take care of the environment, or is it the same throughout so many years?
I don't think it's the same amongst the years. Back when I was a kid, obviously there wasn't as much awareness as now. There's a lot of beach cleanup groups, people trying to spread awareness as educators. I think even now in this social media era, there's a lot of information online on TikTok and Instagram. People are getting educated whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
So I do think there's more awareness. However, maybe the social responsibility towards keeping places clean, it's not just about beach cleanups, it's also about maintaining like a sustainable lifestyle, not having to use a lot of single-use items, um, taking care of whatever you have, buying quality over quantity. There's so many different aspects to sustainability, and I think people are positively interacting with a lot of them, but we do need to do a lot of more work to get them involved.
And speaking of doing the work, like when did you decide to take this, something you have been passionate about, and turn it into a career?
I remember when I was in high school, it was my first trip to Germany with my family, and I was so fascinated by the wind turbines there. I didn't even know what these were.
Yeah.
I was around 16 or 17 years old. And I remember getting back to the hotel and researching what were these objects, what do they do, and that's when I decided if I graduate, I want to get into like renewable energy engineering or environmental engineering. However, I did study locally in Kuwait, so I studied electrical engineering as my bachelor's degree. And I started my Instagram page to spread awareness and share whatever I learned myself. I also use this platform to translate a lot of the content I see in English into Arabic for a lot of Arabic speakers who do not understand so many big terms in English. And joined a lot of different companies as a freelancer, as someone who hosts workshops. And it grew from there since 2018 until today. I've done more than like 75 workshops.
MashaAllah.
And a lot of public lectures, including lectures for private companies.
And so, what would you say from dealing with, people of all aspects of the community and, all kinds of environment-related issues? Like, what do you think is the factor that stops people of being so aware about these issues and and so lacking the attentive decisions to make these kind of choices.
I think it's reinforcement of some laws. We do have great laws to protect the environment, given by EPA in Kuwait, Environmental Public Authority. However, reinforcing them and actually finding people who ruin the environment, whether it's an individual or big corporations, this makes people more interested in taking care of it, whether they really find it feasible or they really care about it or not.
Yeah.
And this is what happens globally in internationally in a lot of different companies and governments abroad. Because their laws are not just strict but reinforced, this encourages people to adhere to the laws because they're scared of losing money.
Yeah.
So basically, you hit them where it hurts, their pockets.
Yeah, in the pockets. I mean, that's always, the best approach to make people feel the weight of their actions, right? To hit them in their pockets. I do want to ask you something. We've spoken about your role, during the brief introduction, but what is a environmental consultant? Like, what role do they play in all of this?
So after I got my bachelor's degree, I wanted to actually specialize in environment with doing further studies. So I did my master's degree in Brookes University in London, and actually in the UK. It was basically studying environmental impact assessment and management. So we had to study how anything and everything affects the environment and how to monetize that and find that and prevent that in the future.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of international interest in this topic. So, for example, the World Bank requires a lot of big companies and banks to send them reports of how well they're doing and protecting the environment. They have to do an environmental impact study before establishing any building because the flora and fauna in the area could be affected. So this is just one example. So after I took my master's degree, which was like around 5 years ago, I started in a different pathway in my career. Instead of being just an engineer, I'm currently working as an energy senior field engineer in the department responsible for building automation. So any kind of building, we do assess their energy consumption.
Yeah.
And based on our energy audit, we give them recommendations on how to reduce their energy consumption in general. Obviously, this will improve their sustainability metrics and save them a lot of money and time.
Yeah. And this all relates to a lot of big businesses, but let's take it a little bit smaller. Like, what are some mistakes or small mistakes that people are doing their everyday to-day life that is, harmful or ruining to the environment?
I think currently my main focus is kind of away from the typical stop using plastic campaigns, because I feel like it's not about not using plastic, it's more about why are we even using plastic in the first place. Currently, globally, there's a lot of examples and alternatives to plastic. Some items are made from sugarcane, rice, corn, and they look and feel just like plastic, but they're easily compostable. Instead of staying for like 500 years or so in our grounds, they could be composted in like a month or so. So in the first place, we shouldn't even use plastic. I don't even believe in recycling plastic in the first place.
Yeah.
However, I do feel like we have a huge problem currently, especially in Kuwait, honestly, but it's also global, centered around how people are over-consuming stuff. Overconsumption is accelerating at very scary rates. People are used to like buying items from like cheap apps. I'm not gonna mention them, but yeah, it's very well known to get discounted rates on these apps and buy cheap quality items, get to wear them once or twice and then just throw them off. It's not just clothing. It also has everything to do with the mindset of buying cheaper and disposing them instead of buying quality and wearing something in the long term.
Yeah.
So if you want to think about it in a different way, I feel like people should be maybe thinking about how their lifestyle is being changed by spending more money on so many more items, but in the long run, you have to replace them very frequently.
Yeah.
So in a year, you're spending the same amount you would spend on buying like 5 items of high quality you'd wear in the next 10 years, for example.
Yeah.
So currently, this is what I'm focusing on spreading awareness about. And in addition to that, having to sit back and reflect towards every action you do on your day-to-day basis, because sustainability is not just about the environment, it's also about how you're sustaining your lifestyle. It's about not just buying quality over quantity, it's about keeping this quality item
Yeah.
sustained for the long term. So through a lot of workshops and lectures I give, I try to enlighten people towards this important topic. And I feel like it's something always overlooked,
Yeah.
because it's the trend to buy a new item or something like that.
It's following the hype.
Yeah, exactly. And the hype actually harms us more than it actually benefits us.
Yeah.
Because you're not even wearing something that's your actual style or your actual personality. It's just copying everyone else and then getting bored out of it after a few wears or something.
I mean, that's unfortunately the symptom of, you know, the disease of modern life, right? The online age, where people are constantly following that, you know, the next like, the next,
Yeah.
you know, click or whatever. And I do love how you emphasize the idea of plastic, because I was reading a very, I'd say, dangerous article that says plastic is actually affecting our genetics for the future, because now in like 9 out of 10 people that they tested, they had microplastic in their bodies. So actually plastic is that harmful. It's causing a lot of diseases, and a lot of people take it for granted. And also about the conception, there is an awareness I know about online, because there is a community that called Buy It for Life, where they advocate getting stuff that is, you know, it's going to be lasting for decades and decades and decades, instead of whatever, you know, tricks and games that new companies are making, where they make stuff that is going to go broke in like a year or two.
Exactly.
So there is a little bit of awareness, you know, online, but unfortunately, I don't think it's that wide, you know, spread. Or
I think it's related to the language barrier, and a lot of people would actually copy other people on their generation, or they just follow whatever their families do. This is why I always encourage people I wouldn't encourage someone to tell their kid do this or do that. Just show them by example. So if the modern parent, like young people who are parents right now, in let's say in my generation, let's say, they're more aware of the situation. And even if they weren't that interested in saving the environment or being sustainable, their kids' preschools are actually focusing on this. So they would have to change some of their habits anyways, because they would be even pushed towards that improvement of habits by their kids themselves. And kids usually just copy what the parents do, because they're their idols.
yeah,
Subconsciously, they would just, if her, like for example, if a kid's mom doesn't like buy any plastic bottles when she goes out and always brings her mug with her, she would ask to buy her own mug and copy her mom.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's starts like a ripple effect when the parents lead by example.
Yeah, I mean, children see, children do, right? They always try to imitate their parents.
Yeah.
We are going to go on a break, but I do want to reaffirm, you know, something. I want to give credit where it's due, because I think, you know, schools in Kuwait, especially the government schools, you know, alhamdulillah, mashallah, even back when I was studying, they used to plan trips to the beach and to the coastal areas for cleanups.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, by talking with my cousins, they still make them to do that. Even if my younger cousins are like, oh, you know, they're annoyed that they have to do this, but years later they're gonna realize, oh, this was better, this was great.
Yeah.
So that's major thanks and props to the education system here we have. With that in mind, we are gonna take a very quick break, and we'll come right back after this one. And we are back with environmental consultant Noura Alfadhli. I want to ask you about something. We've gone through a little bit of what people, you know, are aware now about the environment, but what are some misconceptions people have about the environment, like some wrong ideas they have that you'd like to take this opportunity to maybe correct?
I feel like people view the environment as something separate, a different entity, but we're actually part of it. Even though now we're very urbanized and we live in cities that are very big, most of our day is spent in offices or commuting from and to work. We're actually part of the environment, and part of why we're getting sicker faster is because we're not really connecting with the environment anymore. Actually, recent studies have, especially in Japan and Sweden, they focused a lot on forest bathing and on spending time in nature as a way where you could improve your mental health. And one of the studies basically suggested that if you spend 10 to 20 minutes in nature every day, even if it's like a local park, you will get to decrease your cortisol levels by 20%.
mashallah. I didn't know
So yeah, your stress levels are going down if you just spend a bit of time in nature. And I do understand that a lot of people find it hard during summer breaks or summer season, myself included. I really don't like the heat, but I try to manage when I go before sunrise, very early or late at night. At least have a small walk in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It gets your mind clearer, and you get to actually smell like fresh air, even if it's warm air.
Yeah. I think this reminds me of something during the Corona days,
Mm.
after so many months of the lockdown, whenever people were going out, they're saying, "Oh, the air smells nice, it smells fresh."
Mm.
And that's just, it just shows you how much of an impact our pollution, our, bad habits of the environment is making. Just a couple of weeks of no cars, no traffic, no everything, and their environment was like living again.
Yeah.
I think people underestimate their impact on a large scale.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, a lot of people don't really know this fact, but indoor pollution is even higher than outdoor pollution.
Oh, so what is it? What is indoor pollution though?
Basically, it comes out of pollutants, including dust,
Oh, okay.
accumulated dust.
Yeah.
Some people who have gas stoves. If you don't have an electric stove, then you're risking getting your sinuses infected
Yeah.
and your lungs because gas emits a lot of pollutants. Perfumes, air fresheners. I feel like recently, I'm sure you noticed, a lot of malls and parking plots, they have those automatic air fresheners,
Yeah.
which has a nice smell, but whoever has issues with their lungs or breathing or have issues with their noses are getting intense reactions from these.
Yeah.
And this is considered part of the indoor pollution.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, also people who are not cleaning their homes regularly every day, dust accumulates. People who have pets. Again, one of my biggest discoveries lately is how perfumes are affecting our health. So 2 years ago, approximately, coming from someone who is very healthy, I don't have any issues, I started coughing and sneezing very frequently.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even the season for like this kind of flu or disease. One of my friends just recommended to switch my perfumes into natural essential oils. So I started researching, obviously, and figured out a few simple ones, like lavender is
Yeah.
kind of easy to use for everyone, doesn't have intense reactions. And I replaced my daily perfume with essential oils with natural ingredients.
And the allergy went?
Immediately,
Mashallah.
wallah, within less than 2 weeks, it was like I was lying.
Yeah.
It's really nice. So I started only using perfumes on occasions and switched to all of my perfumes into natural ones I make myself. So I have my customized smell, and I do a lot of workshops related to that. So there's interest in this field as well.
Yeah. This brings a very, it's kind of morbid, kind of article that I read about this person who was from an indigenous tribe or something. I think it was in Siberia, like one of those remote territories. And so that person hasn't, used any hygienic, inventions for decades. I
Yeah.
believe when the article, like when the photographers came upon him, it was like 30 or 40 years of him using that way. And then they introduced to him modern soap, modern shampoo, and everything they gave him. And unfortunately, that person died after using that one because their bodies was so used to the natural, system that they were on. uh, Introducing the stuff we use every day was so crushing to their immune system.
Mm.
It couldn't, deal with it anymore. And I think that's where a lot of people who use these, factory-made products don't realize that our bodies were not made to use this on a daily basis.
Exactly. And a lot of these items, whether it's like a shampoo or body oil or whatever it is you're using for hair, skin, or body care, they have intense ingredients that are
Yeah.
chemicalized. And as soon as you read the ingredient list, you know there's like a bunch of words you don't even understand their meaning.
Yeah.
And they could be a lot of like a combination of so many different chemicals, and just not, it doesn't just affect you immediately, it also affects you in the long run. So if you're immune to a few of them, if you overuse them every day regularly, it's going to affect you whether we like it or not. So this is why I also like to focus on clean skincare and clean makeup. There's a lot of brands globally. Alhamdulillah, there's also a few brands locally that started getting on into this
Yeah.
trend, which I hope it's a trend to stay. That basically makes makeup and skincare and body care that's made from natural ingredients without any additives, and they're transparent with their ingredient list. So if you have allergies to something specific, you can check it out and you don't buy the product in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, I do love how you emphasize the idea that a lot of the things we buy and use now, we don't know half of the ingredients. And I think I was reading that companies deliberately use very complicated words, even if it's for stuff that we know, so that, you have information overload and it's like your brain immediately goes, oh, it's fine to use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sorry.
No, it's fine.
There's also like when you go to a convenience store or a supermarket, the brands that are sold the most there are all owned by 2 or 3 big companies.
Yeah.
So they do all share similar kind of like sharing similar kind of factories, and the way they make their products are similar with toxic ingredients. So a lot of people would have decision fatigue. They were like, okay, all of them have like vague words. What do I do? So they end up just getting something with their price range or something they're comfortable with in the long run, or their mom used, so it's more familiar with them.
Yeah. And also, you should be aware of, the origin of the place where it was, made, because so many countries have different, procedures and precautions and stuff. Because I know that in the United States, like the soda and the fast food restaurants, someone can eat at those or drink the sodas and then be like, oh, this tastes different from when you're, for example, drinking them, eating them here.
Yeah.
But that's because a lot of the companies in the United States that can work there are found unhealthy by our standards, so they can use those products.
Yes.
And the same goes for beauty ingredients. Some countries, put ingredients that are considered not safe by different countries. So you always, there's a lot of ways that these companies play around with the ingredients. And as customers, you're like, I'm just going to buy this.
This is why I always encourage people to either buy local or buy something in an Arab country.
Yeah.
Because it's not just also about how the ingredients are, it's also because you're born and raised in the same region, your body is used to the same ingredients. So a lot of countries use, for example, native plants and flowers in their perfumes or their products they're creating, and your body is used to it. So if you use a product like, let's say, from Australia or a very different continent, your body might not accept the way you think it is. So it harms you in the long run. So why not support local, or especially if they have high quality items? At the least that could happen is that that your local the local government or local responsible entity would take action if something is not healthy. But if it's global, then who's going to find out how it harmed you?
Yeah, and honestly, again, to emphasize the idea of using locally here, because our health standards are so high and, so regulated, it's always better to get, even if you have 2 options between 2 products from the same company, if one of them is made here, it's always better to go with here. Because our standards, the ingredients used and everything, they go through a lot of heavy, inspections and stuff. So it's always better to pick locally, support it. And like I said, the body even is not going to have a hard time adapting to it.
Exactly.
I want to ask you about something, because you mentioned briefly in the beginning that you practice slow living. What is that?
So, like, currently we live in a very fast-paced world. I myself work in a private sector company, so we have like very long hours, 8 hours, not including commuting. You want to have some time to work out, focus on your health, socialize, see your family and friends, and then you have other goals you want to focus on, like journaling or writing or whatever it is. So your day is like planned out in a very intensive way where you have to be productive and check things out of your list. And this basically just harms you in the long run because it spikes up your stress hormones and makes you feel like no matter what you did, it's not good enough. So slow living is basically a concept where people focus on either doing the basic essential things you need to do per day. Like, it's an accomplishment if you wake up, brush your teeth, and fix your bed.
Yeah.
We don't even take credit for that every day. We just feel like, oh, I didn't go to that appointment, I didn't reach the work on time, but what about the good things you did before that? So it focuses basically on living slow, not rushing, focusing on the important things you need to do per day. And you don't have to overschedule stuff to feel better about yourself or feel accomplished. And you know, there's a lot of influence also on social media on people who were like, yes, you should focus on building your dream business before your job, and after your job, you should spend time doing 1, 2, 3. That's not realistic.
Yeah.
If you do that, then you're gonna end up sick. That's the conclusion.
And it's honestly the reality. I am gonna finish, the episode on this point because we've run out of time. But this reminds me of a video that I saw online that was making the rounds, where someone was going around to billionaires and they were asking them, like, what is something you change? And the most common question is that I would slow down, I would spend more time with my family. So I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, they focus on, let me build myself up, let me get this money, let me keep busy, that they forget to slow things down, take it day by day, and just, let life take its, course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Time is our biggest asset, and
Yeah.
if you focus on nature, nature takes its time and it's beautiful. So this is something we could be inspired by.
It is, and very well said, Noura. Thank you for enlightening us on a very important topic that I don't think it's mentioned a lot or talked about a lot. So thank you for dedicating the time to come on the Untold and join us with this.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All thanks goes to you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. We are going to take a very quick break and we'll come right back after this one. Unfortunately, that's it from us, the team of the Untold. That's all of the time we've had for today's episode. Honestly, talking about the environment is a very special topic for me because no matter where you go, especially now with the excessive heat that we have, it's always great to take the time to bring awareness to this issue. Hopefully today's episode brought you attention, brought you awareness about it, brought you education about it, made you informative about dealing with the environment to better our environment. With that in mind, that's it from us at the Untold. Until the next one, goodbye for now.